I'm Sarah Mitchell, 38, a mom of two, juggling my work-from-home life and a tech empire I built from the ground up. Picture me behind the wheel of a rented SUV, driving through the snow-dusted streets of Willow Creek, Ohio, heading to my childhood home for Christmas dinner, my first in 8 years. My hands are clammy, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ache. My heart's pounding like it's trying to outrun the memories flooding my mind. I left my shiny electric car back in San Francisco, swapped my tailored blazer for a soft gray sweater, because tonight isn't about showing off what I've achieved. It's about facing my family, my dad, James, who always put my brothers, Thomas and David, on a pedestal, while I was left chasing a scrap of his approval. What unfolded at that dinner changed everything. A night that cracked open old wounds and started mending them in ways I never expected. Growing up in Willow Creek, our big Victorian house on Cedar Lane was the kind of place that turned heads. Wraparound porch, tall windows glowing with warmth, the kind of home that whispered old money. Dad built Mitchell Construction from nothing, turning sweat and grit into a company that supplied half the state's building sites. He wore that success like a second skin, his pride filling every corner of our home like the scent of his morning coffee or the polish he used on his desk. From the time I could braid my own hair or tie my sneakers, I knew who the stars of the family were. Thomas, 4 years older, had a head for numbers that Dad bragged about at every barbecue. David, 2 years younger, had a charm that could talk anyone into anything, a born salesman. Me? I was the middle kid, the daughter who never fit into Dad's vision of success. "Construction's a man's world, Sarah," he'd say, his voice sharp, stuck in a 1950s mindset even as the world spun into the 2000s. "Find a good husband to take care of you." Those words cut deeper than I could ever admit, each one a tiny jab that left me feeling smaller, less worthy. I'd sit at the kitchen table, peeling carrots for Mom, Ellen, catching her sad, fleeting glances. She was raised to stand by her husband, to nod and smile, never to challenge him. Her silence felt like a betrayal I couldn't name, a weight I carried as I lay awake at night, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on my bedroom ceiling, wondering why my dreams mattered less than my brothers. I'd trace those stars with my eyes, imagining a world where I could be enough just as I was. School became my refuge, the one place I could breathe. I threw myself into math and computer science, staying late in the library or the computer lab, where the hum of old PCs felt like a heartbeat. Mrs. Larson, my high school teacher, saw something in me no one else did. "Sarah, you've got a gift for coding," she'd say, her voice warm like a favorite quilt, her eyes bright with belief. "The world's changing, and you could help shape it." Her words were a lifeline, a spark that lit a fire in my chest. I'd spend hours with her, debugging lines of code, feeling like I was unlocking a secret language that could take me anywhere. Those moments in the lab, with its flickering fluorescent lights and the faint smell of dusty keyboards, were where I found my strength, where I started to believe I could build something bigger than the small box Dad tried to keep me in. When college application season came, I set my heart on MIT. Their computer science program was one of the best, and Boston was alive with tech possibilities, a city buzzing with ideas that felt like they could carry me far from Willow Creek. I'd stay up late in my room, the glow of my desk lamp mixing with the scent of Mom's lavender candles drifting from downstairs, pouring my soul into essays that told my story, my dreams, my grit, my refusal to be invisible. When the acceptance letter arrived, I clutched it to my chest, tears stinging my eyes, and ran to Dad's office, my hands trembling with pride. I can still see him there, behind his oak desk, the room heavy with the smell of leather and ink, his glasses perched low as he scanned reports. I held out the letter, my voice shaky but hopeful. "Dad, I got into MIT." His face didn't light up. Instead, it hardened, his eyes narrowing like I'd asked for something impossible. "MIT? Across the country? That's too far, Sarah, and too expensive." I'd done the math, scholarships, grants, work study, but there was still a gap I couldn't bridge alone. I stood there, heart pounding, begging for his help. "Please, Dad, this is my future." He leaned back, looking past me like I was a stranger. "Thomas and David need business degrees to run the company. That's where our money goes. Your computer stuff? It's a phase, a hobby. My throat tightened, tears burning, but I pushed back, my voice cracking. It's not a hobby, Dad. It's who I am. He waved me off, already turning back to his papers, dismissing me like I was a kid asking for a toy. Figure it out yourself, then. That moment broke something in me, but it also built something stronger. I deferred MIT for a year, working 3 jobs to close that financial gap. Mornings, I waited tables at a diner, the smell of greasy bacon clinging to my clothes. Afternoons, I stocked shelves at a craft store, surrounded by yarn and glitter. Nights, I did bookkeeping for local businesses, my eyes burning from staring at spreadsheets. I'd collapse into bed, exhausted, my body aching, but I'd dream of code, of algorithms, of a future I'd carve out myself. I saved every penny, took out loans, and cried into my pillow when the weight felt too heavy, when I wondered if Dad was right, if I'd fail. But the next fall, I stepped onto MIT's campus, my heart a tangled mix of fear, pride, and defiance. Those college years were a blur of exhaustion, coding until dawn, waitressing to pay bills, barely sleeping during finals week, my dorm room a mess of coffee cups and textbooks. I'd call Mom sometimes, hearing the clatter of dishes in the background, her voice soft but distant, never asking too much about my world. I graduated with honors, clutching my diploma like a trophy, knowing I'd earned it without Dad's help, without his belief. That moment, standing in my cap and gown, the spring air warm on my face, I felt like I'd won a battle no one else could see. My first job was at a scrappy Boston startup, the kind where the office was more folding tables than polished desks. The pay was barely enough for a tiny apartment, but working with the founders taught me how to build something from nothing, how to pitch ideas, fix bugs, and keep going when everything seemed to be falling apart. I'd stay late, the office quiet, except for the hum of my laptop, feeling like I was part of something bigger, something that could change lives. When that company got bought out 2 years later, I had enough savings and courage to start dreaming of my own venture. Back in Willow Creek, Thomas and David had stepped into Dad's company, their names already on office doors, their successes the centerpiece of every family call. Mom would share their wins, Thomas's new contracts, David's big clients, her voice bright with pride, but never once asking about my work. It hurt, that silence, like a bruise I couldn't ignore. I'd sit in my tiny apartment, eating ramen, scrolling through family photos on my phone, missing the smell of Mom's cooking, the sound of David's laugh, even Dad's gruff voice. The breaking point came 9 years ago during a visit home for Thanksgiving. I'd just launched my company, Vital Tech, using AI to streamline hospital operations and save lives. It was pre-revenue, running on hope and a small round of funding, but it was mine. Every line of code a piece of my heart. At dinner, surrounded by Mom's best china and the glow of candles, Dad asked about my little tech thing with a smirk that made my stomach twist. I tried to explain, my voice steady despite the nerves. We just secured our first funding round. It's a big step. He cut me off, his tone sharp. Real businesses make profits, Sarah, not fancy pitches for investors. Thomas chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Yeah, when are you getting a real job? My face burned, my fork trembling in my hand, but I held my ground. This is real, Dad. We're building technology that saves lives. He scoffed, offering me a bookkeeping job at his company like it was a lifeline I should be grateful for. Come back to reality, Sarah, he said. I can still feel the heat in my cheeks, the way my heart sank as I realized they'd never see me. I left the next morning, no goodbyes, driving back to Boston with tears streaming down my face, vowing to prove them wrong, to build something so big they couldn't ignore it. For years, I kept my distance. Short calls with Mom, a Christmas card here and there. They knew I was in tech, working in California after I moved west, but I never shared the details, and they never asked. Vital Tech grew, slowly at first, like a seedling fighting through rocky soil. There were nights I thought we'd go under, when investors pulled out or code failed, when I lived on coffee and sheer stubbornness. But we hit milestones. Our first hospital contract, our first 1 million users. I bought a house in San Francisco, a sleek car, a watch I'd always wanted, each one a quiet, I did it to myself. I'd stand on my balcony at night, the city lights twinkling below, feeling proud but lonely, missing the chaos of family dinners, the sound of Mom's laughter, even Dad's stern lectures. Now, pulling into the driveway of that familiar Victorian house for this Christmas dinner, I felt like a stranger stepping into a memory. The house glowed with multicolored lights, the wreath on the door just like Mom's always hung, the smell of pine and cinnamon drifting out. I'd come to reconnect, to show them who I'd become despite their doubts, but my stomach churned with nerves. 8 years is a long time to carry hurt, to wonder if you'll ever belong. I hesitated before ringing the bell, my finger hovering, memories flooding back, helping Mom bake cookies, giggling over spilled sprinkles, sneaking extra icing when she wasn't looking. Those moments felt so far away, like they belonged to another girl, one who still hoped her dad would see her. I took a deep breath, smoothing my sweater, hiding the watch that marked my success, wanting to be just Sarah tonight, not the billionaire the world now knew me as. Mom opened the door, her face lighting up like the Christmas tree inside. "Sarah, you're here," she said, pulling me into a hug, her rose perfume wrapping me in warmth, pulling me back to childhood nights when she'd tuck me in. I clung to her a little longer than I meant to, the familiar scent grounding me. The living room was a whirlwind of family. Thomas and his wife, Laura, arranging gifts under the tree. Their kids, Ava, 13, and Noah, 15, glued to their phones. David and his wife, Megan, chatting with Aunt Ruth. Their son, Caleb, 17, scrolling on his tablet in the corner. Uncle John was sprawled on the couch, watching football with Uncle Peter and Aunt Diane, their laughter filling the room. And there, in his armchair like a king on a throne, was Dad, his hair grayer, his eyes still sharp, scanning me like he was trying to figure out who I was. "Sarah," he said, not standing, his voice flat, like my presence was just a fact to note. "Merry Christmas, Dad," I replied, keeping my tone even, swallowing the old hurt that bubbled up. Thomas gave me a quick, awkward hug. "How's California treating you?" he asked, his smile polite but distant. David chimed in. "Still messing with those apps?" His tone teasing but edged with something sharper. I smiled, keeping it vague. "Something like that." They launched into their usual routine, bragging about the family business, new markets conquered, profits soaring, each word a reminder of Dad's pride in them. I nodded, offering a quiet, "That's great," but inside, I was that teenage girl again, sitting at the edge of the table, invisible unless I played by their rules. I looked around, taking in the familiar, Mom's embroidered table runner, the photos on the mantle of Thomas and David's graduations, none of mine. It was like I'd been erased from the family story, and the ache of that realization settled heavy in my chest. Mom called me to the kitchen to help with plates, a welcome escape from the tension. The kitchen was warm, fragrant with roasting turkey, apple pie, and the faint tang of cranberry sauce. I could almost see my younger self standing at the counter, flour on my cheeks, helping Mom roll out pie dough, her soft humming filling the quiet. "I'm so glad you're here," she said, handing me a stack of plates, her eyes soft with love, but shadowed with something else. Guilt, maybe. "Your dad misses you, even if he doesn't say it." I doubted that, but her warmth eased the knot in my chest. "How are you, Mom?" "Really?" I asked, setting the plates down, watching her stir a pot of gravy. She sighed, her shoulders sagging slightly. "Oh, keeping busy with the grandkids, the house, your dad's endless business dinners." Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. "I wish you'd call more, Sarah. It's been so quiet without you." Guilt hit me like a wave. I'd kept her at arm's length, too, protecting myself from the family's dismissal, but shutting her out in the process. I touched her hand, my voice soft. "I'm happy, Mom. Work's my whole world right now, but it's what I love. No guy in the picture, but I'm okay with that." She squeezed my arm, her eyes glistening, and for a moment, I was her little girl again, safe in her quiet care, the one person who'd always loved me, even if she didn't know how to show it against Dad's shadow. Dinner was a feast. The dining room glowing with candlelight, Mom's best china sparkling, crystal glasses catching the light. I sat between Aunt Ruth and Ava, directly across from Dad, who sat at the head of the table like always, his presence commanding. He said his traditional Christmas prayer, thanking God for prosperity and the family business, his voice booming with pride. Pride that, as usual, didn't include me. Conversation stayed safe, carefully avoiding anything too real. Sports scores, the kids' school plays, gossip about neighbors. I chatted with Ava about her science fair project, her eyes lighting up as she described her volcano experiment, reminding me of myself at her age, hungry for discovery. Noah talked basketball, his voice full of teenage bravado, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes, wondering where he'd fit in the family legacy. Caleb, David's son, barely looked up from his tablet, even when spoken to. "What's got you so hooked over there?" David finally asked, half annoyed, half curious. "Just research," Caleb mumbled, shoving the tablet in his pocket, but sneaking glances at it every few minutes. Aunt Ruth turned to me, her voice kind but curious. "Ellen says you've got your own company now. What do you do, Sarah?" All eyes turned to me, and I felt the familiar pressure to downplay my work, to avoid outshining my brothers or upsetting Dad. I kept it simple, my voice steady. "We make software that helps hospitals run better, helps doctors save more lives." Dad's stare was heavy, like he was waiting for me to falter, but I held his gaze. Thomas chuckled, leaning back. "Tech startups are just gambling with other people's money, right? No offense." Dad nodded, his voice smug. "Our company just had its best year ever thanks to your brothers. Construction's the backbone of this country." It was the same old dismissal, the same script that said their success was real. Mine was a fantasy. I swallowed the hurt, focusing on clearing plates with Laura, grateful for the excuse to slip away. In the kitchen, Laura surprised me, her voice low as she stacked dishes. "What's it really like, running your own company?" Her eyes were curious, not competitive, like she genuinely wanted to know. I hesitated, then let myself open up, the words spilling out. "It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Endless stress, impossible choices, nights where you're too tired to sleep but too scared to stop. But when you're building something that matters, something that helps doctors save lives, it's like this fire inside you that keeps you going. It's worth every second." She nodded, thoughtful, her hands pausing on a plate. "That sounds more meaningful than just keeping someone else's business running, you know? Thomas never talks about the company like that." Her words caught me off guard, a reminder that not everyone in this family bought into Dad's narrative. Before I could respond, Mom called us back for dessert, her voice bright but strained, like she was trying to hold the evening together. As we carried pies to the table, pumpkin, pecan, apple, each one a piece of Mom's heart, Dad tapped his glass with a spoon, the sharp sound silencing the room. I braced myself, my stomach twisting, knowing his announcements were rarely good news for me. "Everyone," he began, standing tall in his favorite navy sweater, his voice carrying the weight of authority I'd known all my life. "Mitchell Construction's thriving, thanks to the incredible work of Thomas and David." The table hummed with approval, nods and smiles all around. Thomas sat up straighter, Laura beaming beside him. David raised his glass, Megan nodding proudly. "We've just acquired our biggest competitor in the Midwest," Dad continued, "making us the top supplier in 6 states with plans to expand further next year." Murmurs of excitement rippled through the room. Uncle John raised his glass in a silent toast. Aunt Diane clapped softly. I took a sip of water, my hands steady, but my heart heavy, knowing what was coming. "With this growth," Dad said, his tone shifting to something more serious, "I've been planning for the future. I'm not getting any younger." A few polite chuckles echoed, but I could feel the air tighten. "After talking with our family lawyer, I've made decisions about the company and our assets." My stomach nodded. I'd heard versions of this before, and they never included me. "Thomas will take over as CEO next year. His financial skills make him the clear choice to lead. David will be president, handling clients and new business, where he's already excelled. My brothers nodded, Thomas with a practiced humility, David with a confident smile. The table erupted in congratulations. Uncle Peter slapped David's back. Aunt Ruth patted Thomas's hand. Mom smiled, but her eyes flicked to me, worried, like she knew what was next. Dad cleared his throat, his gaze locking onto me, sharp and unyielding. As for the inheritance, he said, his voice colder now, I've revised my will to reflect who's contributed to the family business. Thomas and David will inherit equal shares of the company and most of our assets. He paused, looking directly at me, his words deliberate. Sarah, you won't be receiving an inheritance. The room went silent, the air heavy with shock. Every eye turned to me, waiting for a reaction. Tears, anger, something. 8 years ago, those words would have shattered me, sent me running from the table, sobbing for Dad's approval. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I'd built my own world, one he couldn't touch. I met his gaze, my face calm, and picked up my fork. I understand, I said, taking a bite of pumpkin pie, the sweet spices barely registering as I focused on keeping my dignity. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Aunt Ruth broke it, her voice sharp with disapproval. James, did you have to announce that at Christmas dinner? Dad sat back down, unfazed. Family business is discussed with family present. Now let's enjoy dessert. Conversation started up again, quieter, as I focused on my pie, ignoring the pitying glances. Memories flooded back. Every time Dad had said no, every dismissal of my dreams, every moment I'd felt less than my brothers. But beneath the familiar hurt was a new strength, a quiet peace. I didn't need his money or his approval. I'd built something he could never claim, something that was mine alone. Ava leaned over, her voice a whisper, her brown eyes wide with concern. You okay, Aunt Sarah? Her kindness pierced through my armor, reminding me of the little girl I used to be, desperate for someone to see her. I smiled, genuine and warm. I'm fine, sweetie. Families can be messy sometimes. She nodded, her 13-year-old face showing a wisdom that tugged at my heart. Talk around the table stayed light, carefully avoiding the bombshell Dad had dropped. I stayed quiet, letting their glances slide off me, my mind drifting to the long nights in my tiny San Francisco apartment, coding until my eyes burned, believing in my dream when no one else did. Then Caleb gasped, loud enough to stop the room cold. Aunt Sarah's on the Forbes Billionaire list, he shouted, holding up his tablet, his voice cracking with excitement. My heart stopped, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth. I'd known this was coming. The Forbes list had dropped that morning, my PR team warning me after Vitaltech's acquisition went public. But hearing it here now in front of everyone made my stomach lurch. What are you talking about? David asked, frowning. Must be another Sarah Mitchell, Thomas said, waving it off. Caleb shook his head, his eyes wide. No, it's her. Look. He passed the tablet to Dad, whose face went pale, his hands trembling slightly as he stared at the screen. It says you're worth $4.1 billion, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. You founded Vitaltech, sold to a tech giant for billions. All eyes turned to me, the room so quiet I could hear the crackle of the fireplace. I took a deep breath, my heart racing but my voice steady. That's right. The room erupted, gasps, questions, voices overlapping. $4 billion? You sold your company? How long have you been hiding this? I raised a hand, and to my surprise, the table quieted. Maybe because wealth, even in this family, demanded attention. I started Vitaltech 8 years ago, I explained, keeping my tone calm. We built AI that helps doctors diagnose diseases faster and create better treatment plans. Last month, a tech giant bought us out for a mix of cash and stock. Mom's voice was small, trembling. Why didn't you tell us, Sarah? I looked at her, my heart aching with love and old hurt. I wanted to be seen for me, Mom, not my money or my achievements. When I left 8 years ago, it was clear my dreams weren't valued here. I needed to prove to myself I could do it alone. Thomas's face was red, his voice tight. So all this time we thought you were struggling, and you were a billionaire? I shook my head, memories of those early years flashing through my mind, sleeping on a lumpy couch, eating instant noodles, pouring every cent back into the company. It wasn't overnight, I said. The first 3 years were brutal. We nearly went bankrupt twice. I lived in a shoebox apartment, worked 18-hour days. But 4 years ago, our AI diagnosed a rare condition doctors had missed for years. That's when hospitals started signing up, and it grew from there. Megan leaned forward, her voice curious. What exactly does your tech do? I appreciated the chance to explain, to share what drove me. Our AI analyzes millions of medical records, research papers, patient data, things doctors can't process alone. It spots patterns, helps diagnose tough cases, and suggests treatments based on the latest science. We started with rare diseases, but now we're in cancer, cardiology, neurology, used in over 2,500 hospitals worldwide. David nodded, his usual smirk gone. That's actually incredible. Caleb grinned, his excitement contagious. I was researching vital tech for a school project on AI. I had no idea it was you until the acquisition news hit this morning, and then Forbes updated their list. Dad stared at the tablet, still in his hands, his voice dazed. $4.1 billion, and I just told you you're getting nothing. A few nervous laughs broke the tension, quickly stifled. I smiled, trying to lighten the mood. I think I'm doing okay without it. The room shifted. Thomas started talking business opportunities, his tone suddenly respectful. Aunt Ruth gave me a knowing wink, like she'd always believed in me. Mom's eyes glistened with tears. I'm so proud of you, Sarah, she said softly. I wanted to believe her, but a small part of me wondered if it was the billions talking, not her heart. Noah, ever the blunt teenager, piped up. If you're so rich, why'd you show up in a rented SUV? I laughed, the sound easing the tension in my chest. I didn't want the money to change how you saw me. I just wanted to be Sarah tonight. David smirked, but there was humor in it now. Well, that plan's shot. As conversation turned to my journey, the sleepless nights, the funding battles, the moment our AI saved a child's life, I felt the room warm to me in a way it never had. I shared stories of the early days, of pitching to investors who doubted a woman could lead, of celebrating our first big contract with cheap pizza in a cramped office. Dad stayed quiet, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Shock, maybe, or something deeper. Our eyes met, and he stood, heading to his study, tilting his head slightly, an unspoken invitation to follow. I excused myself, my heart pounding as I walked down the familiar hallway, past framed photos of Thomas and David's business awards, none of my own. The study was just as I remembered. Dark walnut bookshelves, the smell of leather and old coffee, Dad's mahogany desk dominating the space. I sat in a leather chair, crossing my legs, not the scared kid who used to stand here waiting for a lecture, but an equal, a woman who'd built her own empire. You've done something extraordinary, Dad said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard, almost uncertain. Building a company like that, in tech of all things, it's no small thing. I nodded, keeping my tone neutral. Thank you. He shifted, uncomfortable. About the inheritance? I was wrong to say that. I held up a hand, stopping him. Dad, I don't need your money. I didn't come here expecting a share of the company or your will. That's not why I'm here. He looked confused, genuinely lost. Then why did you come, Sarah? After 8 years of barely talking? The question hit me hard, cutting through years of distance. I took a breath, my voice steady, but raw. I came because you're still my dad, and this is still my family. I came hoping time might have changed things, that we could find a way to respect each other, not just expect me to fit your mold. He looked down at his hands, weathered from years of work, and for the first time, I saw him struggle for words. I always respected you, he said, but it sounded hollow. Have you? I asked, keeping my tone even, though my heart raced. You dismissed my education, my career, my dreams. You made it clear the only path that mattered was the one Thomas and David took, the one you chose. Because I'm a woman, that was never an option for me. He flinched, the truth landing like a blow. Times were different when I built this company, he said, his voice firm but defensive. The business world's brutal. Most startups fail. I didn't want you to get hurt. But you hurt me, I countered, my voice calm but unflinching. You let me feel like my dreams were less, like I was less, because I didn't follow your path. He was silent, his face lined with something new. Regret, maybe. I'm proud of what you've done, he said finally, the words heavy, like they cost him something. Thank you, I replied, recognizing how hard that was for him. But this isn't just about my success, Dad. If I'd built a small company, worth a few million instead of billions, would we be having this talk? Would you care? His silence was answer enough, and it stung, confirming what I'd always feared. That's the problem, I said softly. Your respect, your love, it's always been tied to success as you see it. That's not how family should work. He looked older in that moment, smaller, his shoulders slumping. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted, his voice raw, a vulnerability I'd never seen. Neither do I said honestly. But recognizing there's something to fix is a start. I don't expect everything to change overnight. I just want us to try, for you to see me for who I am, not what I've achieved. He nodded slowly, his eyes meeting mine. I can try. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough for now, a crack in the wall between us. Back in the living room, Mom pulled me aside, her hands twisting her apron, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I owe you an apology, Sarah, she said, her voice breaking. I should have stood up for you when your dad dismissed your dreams, when he refused to help with college, when he favored the boys. I was raised to believe a wife doesn't contradict her husband, but that silence hurt you, and I'm so sorry. Her candor stunned me, her words cutting through years of quiet resentment. I'd always seen her as complicit, but now I saw her own struggles, trapped in a role she didn't choose. Mom, you did what you could, I started, but she shook her head, tears spilling over. Not enough. I was so proud when you left for MIT, so scared but so proud. You were braver than I ever was. I just never said it loud enough to drown out your dad's voice. She admitted keeping a scrapbook of my achievements, every news article, every mention of Vital Tech, hidden in her sewing room where Dad wouldn't see. The image of her clipping articles, saving pieces of my life, broke something open in me. I hugged her, my own tears falling, grateful for her quiet, steadfast love. I hear you now, Mom, I whispered, and it means everything. We stood there, holding each other, the kitchen warm with the smell of pie and memories, a moment of healing I hadn't known I needed. Outside on the back porch, David found me, leaning against the railing, the cold December air sharp against my skin. He looked different, humbler, his usual confidence softened. I owe you an apology, he said, no preamble, his breath visible in the chilly air. I was a terrible brother. I followed Dad's lead, dismissing what you were doing, enjoying the favoritism without questioning it. But you, moving across the country, building something from nothing, that takes guts. I admire that. His sincerity caught me off guard, warming a part of me that had long felt cold toward him. Thank you, David, I said, my voice soft. That means a lot. He smiled, a real smile, not his usual salesman grin. Your company's incredible. Not just the money, but the lives it saves. Our construction supplies just build buildings. You're building hope. We stood in silence, watching our breath form clouds, the backyard stretching out where we'd played as kids, chasing fireflies and dreaming of futures we couldn't yet see. I asked about Caleb, noticing his tech obsession. David's face lit up. He's brilliant with computers, takes after you, wants to study computer science, but I don't know how to guide him. I offered to mentor Caleb, maybe set up an internship at Vital Tech. David's gratitude was palpable, a bridge between us starting to form. Back inside, Ava was sitting alone on the window seat, her tablet open to a coding tutorial. I sat beside her, curious. "What's that?" I asked. She looked up, shy but eager. "I'm learning Python. We had a tech week at school, and I loved it. The logic, the puzzles." Her excitement mirrored my own at her age, and my heart swelled. "It's tricky, though," she admitted. I offered to help, promising to connect her with women engineers at Vital Tech. Her eyes widened. "For real?" "Absolutely," I said, telling her about our summer program for high schoolers. Her joy reminded me of the girl I'd been, discovering code in Mrs. Larson's lab, dreaming of possibilities no one else saw. The evening buzzed with connection, Thomas grudgingly respectful, asking about AI applications, Aunt Ruth sharing stories of Grandma's unfulfilled dreams of starting a business in the 1950s, Caleb peppering me with questions about machine learning. A call from my COO, Lisa, interrupted. A glitch in our system at 3 hospitals needed my attention. I explained to Mom, promising breakfast the next day. As I said my goodbyes, the hugs felt different, warmer, real. Dad's was awkward but genuine. "We'll talk soon," he said, his eyes holding mine. Driving away, I felt lighter, the weight of 8 years lifting. My wealth had forced a reckoning, but the real work, forgiveness, understanding, love, was just beginning. 1 year later, I'm back for Christmas, driving my own car. No need to hide who I am. The house glows with the same lights, but the air feels different. Warmer, open. Dad's in therapy, a shock for a man of his generation, calling me regularly to ask about Vital Tech, not just its value but its impact. He's visited my office twice, meeting my team, asking questions that show he's trying to understand. Thomas and David have taken over the company, but they've changed it. Starting an internship program for women, creating a tech division, even putting Mom on the board, her quiet wisdom finally valued. Dinner is a blend of old and new. Lisa's here, chatting AI with David. My engineers are mentoring Ava and Caleb, who spent the summer interning at Vital Tech. Dad stands to speak, his voice steady but humble. "We're launching the Mitchell Innovation Fund," he says, "to support women entrepreneurs in tech and construction, led by Ellen, Sarah, and, in a few years, Ava." The table buzzes with surprise. We're also funding the Larson Scholarship for 5 young women in STEM each year. Mom beams, her hand in mine, her pride no longer silent. Outside with Dad, under a starry sky, he says, "Legacy isn't just what I built, it's what you all create next." Mom whispers later, "This is what I always wanted, us, truly together." As we take a family photo, I realize true wealth isn't my billions. It's this messy, healing family, built on courage, forgiveness, and love. If you felt unseen or fought for your place, know your worth comes from within, from the path you carve. Your dreams, your grit, they're enough.